The message arrived across the galaxy at the exact same moment. On thousands of worlds, lights dimmed, holograms activated, translation engines hummed as symbols of the Galactic Council appeared in the air. For many species, the sight alone caused fear. The Council had existed longer than some stars had burned. When it spoke, civilizations listened. When it acted, civilizations ended. The message was long, formal, and full of tradition. It spoke of balance, order, and authority. It listed old laws written before most current species had evolved. It reminded everyone of the Council's duty to protect the galaxy from destabilizing forces. Then it reached the final line. The Galactic Council formally declared a state of war against the Terran Union, also known as humanity. Across the council chambers, reactions were loud and dramatic. Delegates shouted. Some cheered. Others argued. A few sat in silence, their skin pale or scales darkened with worry. The declaration had passed by a narrow margin, pushed through by older, powerful members who believed humans were becoming a problem. Humans expanded too fast. Humans ignored warnings. Humans questioned council authority. That was reason enough. On Earth, the message appeared on a large screen inside a quiet conference room. The room overlooked a city filled with light and motion. Air traffic moved in smooth lines. People walked below, unaware that an ancient power had just declared war on their species. Around the table sat human leaders. Some wore uniforms, others wore simple suits. A few had cups of coffee in their hands. No one shouted. No one panicked. The Secretary General of the Terran Union finished reading the translated message. He blinked once and leaned back in his chair. "Well," he said calmly, "that's inconvenient." A general across the table checked a tablet and nodded. "Logistics will be annoying. We'll need to reroute trade convoys near Council space." Another advisor sighed. "This will slow down the Mars infrastructure project." A younger diplomat frowned. "Do we send a reply now or after lunch?" That was the moment no one in the room laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was serious. War meant lives, war meant effort, but it did not mean fear. Humans had faced worse than words. The Secretary General tapped the table. "Send a short reply. Acknowledge receipt. Ask them to confirm if this is a formal declaration or a political warning." The diplomat raised an eyebrow. They used the full ceremonial script. "Yes," the Secretary General replied, "but they do that for trade disputes too." Across human space, news networks reported the declaration. The tone was calm. Anchors explained the situation in simple terms. Experts talked about council history, military strength, and past conflicts. Viewers listened while eating dinner, commuting to work, or exercising. There were protests on some worlds. There were jokes on social networks. One popular image showed a human soldier shrugging with the caption, "Guess we're doing this again." On a distant council world, High Arbiter Vexil watched human broadcasts with growing discomfort. Vexil was old, even by his species' long standards. He had seen wars begin with screaming, threats, and desperate pleas. This was different. Humans were calm. Too calm. Vexil turned to his aide. "Why are they not mobilizing?" The aide adjusted a data slate. "They are mobilizing, Arbiter, quietly. Fleet readiness increased by 12%. Civilian industries have begun limited conversion. Emergency drills are being reviewed." Vexil's eyes narrowed, without panic. "Yes, that is unusual." Council military planners expected humanity to react with anger or fear. Instead, humans treated the declaration like a storm warning. Something serious but manageable. Something to prepare for, not scream about. On a mining colony near the edge of human space, a woman named Mara finished her shift and checked the news. She read the headline twice, then shrugged and packed her tools. "Council war," her coworker asked. Yeah, Mara replied. Guess shipping delays are coming. Think they'll attack us out here? Maybe, she said, but command will move us if needed. They always do. That quiet trust worried the council more than any weapon. As days passed, council intelligence dug deeper into human history. What they found confused and disturbed them. Humans had fought wars before they ever left their home world. Wars without energy shields. Wars without faster-than-light travel. Wars with weapons that shattered cities and poisoned land. They had nearly destroyed themselves more than once. And yet they survived. Again and again, humans rebuilt. They learned. They adapted. They argued fiercely, but when facing extinction, they stood together. One analyst noted that humanity's military records showed constant change. Tactics evolved quickly. Equipment was modular, easy to repair, easy to modify. Human commanders encouraged initiative rather than strict obedience. They expect plans to fail, the analyst reported, and they plan for that failure. Another analyst added something worse. Humans do not treat war as glorious, she said. They treat it as work. On the council capitol, that statement spread through the chambers like cold air. Work could be learned. Work could be repeated. Work could be endured. Meanwhile, the Terran Union sent its reply. The message was short. It acknowledged the declaration. It expressed regret. It asked for clarification on borders, rules of engagement, and civilian protections. It ended with a single sentence. We do not seek conflict, but we will respond to it. Some council members laughed at the tone. Others felt uneasy. It did not sound like a threat. It sounded like a fact. As fleets began to move, sensors detected human ships adjusting positions. Not massing, not charging forward, simply shifting like a living thing stretching before effort. High Arbiter Vexil watched the data and felt a rare emotion. Doubt. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council had declared war on a species that did not beg, did not boast, and did not seem impressed. And far across the stars, humanity went on with its day, quietly preparing, quietly adapting, as if the galaxy had just given them another hard problem to solve. The war did not begin with fire. It began with movement. Across council space, massive fleets left ancient docks. Ships the size of cities slid into formation with perfect order. Their hulls were marked with symbols older than human language. To the council, this was strength. This was tradition. This was how wars were meant to start. Council commanders expected panic when the fleets were seen. They expected human ships to rush forward or retreat in fear. Instead, human space grew quiet. Sensors showed human vessels changing course. Supply ships turned away from risky routes. Defense platforms activated and then powered down again, as if testing themselves. Communication traffic increased, but it was controlled and short. No speeches. No threats. Just work. On the Council flagship, Commander Trell of the Varn Collective studied the tactical display. Human fleet positions appeared and disappeared, never staying still long enough to target. They are avoiding engagement, one officer said. Trell shook his head. No, they are choosing it. The first official contact happened near a neutral trade corridor. A council patrol entered the area to show force. They powered weapons, raised shields, and broadcast a warning. A single human ship appeared. It was smaller than expected. Its design looked plain, almost unfinished. No decorations, no visible weapons ports. The council patrol locked targeting systems. The human ship stopped. Then it sent a message. This corridor is currently under civilian protection, the human captain said calmly. We advise you to alter course. No hostile action has occurred. The council patrol commander hesitated. This was not surrender. This was not fear. It was a statement. The patrol advanced. The human ship did not fire. Instead, the patrol's sensors failed. Not destroyed, not jammed violently. They simply stopped giving clear data, distances blurred, target locks flickered. The human ship turned and left. By the time systems recovered, it was gone. The report caused confusion in the council war chambers. No damage had been done, no shots fired, yet the patrol had been rendered useless for several minutes. How? One delegate demanded. We do not know, the technician replied. They did not use known energy patterns. High Arbiter Vexil listened in silence. He remembered ancient lessons. An enemy who shows strength does not fear you. An enemy who hides it may understand you too well. Meanwhile, inside human space, preparation continued. Factories adjusted schedules. Civilian workers were trained for emergency repairs. Hospitals reviewed disaster plans, not because attacks had happened, but because humans planned ahead. On Earth, the Secretary General walked through a defense coordination center. Large screens showed maps, numbers, and projections. People spoke quietly. No one rushed unless needed. A general approached him. Council fleets are holding position near 3 border systems. The Secretary General nodded. Keep evacuation routes open. No first strike. Even if they cross. Then we respond, he said, not before. This restraint confused even some humans. On social networks, debates grew louder. They declared war. Why are we waiting? Because waiting is also a move. Human history teachers were suddenly busy. Old wars were discussed again. Lessons about escalation, mistakes, and survival filled classrooms. Children asked questions. Are we scared? Teachers answered honestly. We are careful. The council finally decided to act. They planned a limited strike, a single human outpost on the edge of space, minimal defenses, no civilians according to council data. The goal was simple: show power. The strike fleet arrived without warning. Energy beams cut through empty space. The outpost shields flared and held. Council weapons intensified. Then the outpost disappeared. Not destroyed, gone. In its place remained debris that looked old, damaged, and abandoned. Sensors showed no life signs, no power. Confusion spread through the fleet. A delayed human message arrived. The station was evacuated 12 hours ago, it said. Your attack caused no casualties. The council commander felt something tight inside his chest. Humans had known. They had moved people away. They had left a shell. Back in council space, anger replaced confidence. They mock us, one delegate shouted. They waste our resources, another added. But others began to question the path. If they can predict our strikes, a smaller species representative asked, what else can they predict? Council intelligence updated its assessments. Human data networks were fast. Their analysis systems learned quickly. Every probe, every scan, every movement fed into models that improved with time. They are studying us, an analyst warned, in real time. High Arbiter Vexil requested a private report. What he read made his limbs feel heavy. Humans had not increased their fleet size dramatically. They had increased flexibility. Ships could change roles mid-mission. Crews were cross-trained. Command authority was spread out, not centralized. They assume leaders will be lost, the report said, and plan to continue without them. Vexil closed his eyes. That was not how the council fought. On a human destroyer near the border, Captain Alina Ruiz reviewed sensor logs. Her ship had not fired a weapon since the war began. Any new orders? Her officer asked. Hold position, Ruiz replied. Observe, record, learn. Council fleet just powered weapons again. Ruiz nodded. They're nervous. Should we be? She considered the question. Respectful, she said, never afraid. Another encounter followed days later. This time, Council ships attempted to surround a human convoy. The convoy broke formation. Cargo ships released drones, small, cheap, and fast. They did not attack, they flooded space with signals. Council targeting systems struggled. Human escorts slipped through gaps and guided the convoy away. Again, no shots fired. Council commanders reported growing frustration. "We cannot force them to fight on our terms," one said. That sentence echoed through the chambers. For centuries, the Council had dictated the shape of war, where it happened, how it happened, when it ended. Humans refused that shape. Inside neutral space, whispers spread. Traders noticed something odd. Council fleets moved heavily, carefully. Human ships moved lightly, freely. Allies watched closely. Some began to quietly favor human trade routes. Others delayed support to the Council, waiting to see how the war would turn. The first true clash finally came by accident. A Council frigate misjudged distance and fired a warning shot that struck a human scout ship. The scout ship was damaged but not destroyed. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then human reinforcements arrived. Not in overwhelming numbers. Just enough. They disabled the frigate's weapons and engines with precise strikes. No hull breach, no explosions. A message followed. "You fired first," it said. "We have neutralized your ship. Medical assistance is available." Council crews were stunned as human rescue teams boarded and treated their injured. News of this spread fast. Some Council citizens were confused. "They are at war with us," one asked. "Why do they help us?" The answer came slowly and painfully. Humans did not see war as hate. They saw it as a condition. A problem to manage. A danger to limit. High Arbiter Vexil stood alone in the Council chamber long after the session ended. Stars glowed beyond the great windows. He understood now why humanity had shrugged. This war was not new to them. It was familiar. And that realization frightened him more than any human weapon. Far away in human space, life continued. People worked, children studied, ships moved quietly through the dark. And humanity kept learning. Every moment, every move, preparing not to win quickly, but to endure longer than anyone else. The war changed shape without warning. For weeks, space had been quiet, too quiet. Council fleets held positions. Human ships moved like shadows, never staying still, never giving clear targets. Both sides watched each other, learning. Then the Council grew tired of waiting. A new order was sent through their command network. Human restraint was no longer seen as caution. It was labeled weakness. Multiple fleets were ordered forward at once. They crossed into human border systems with speed and force. Energy signatures lit up the dark. This time, the Council did not hold back. Human sensors detected the movement instantly. Alerts spread through command centers, not alarms, alerts, calm notices that plans were now active. On Earth, the Defense Council gathered again. The same room, the same view of the city below. "They're coming in force," an officer reported. "3 directions, coordinated." The Secretary General nodded. Then Phase 2 begins. Orders moved outward at the speed of light. Human ships did not rush to meet the attack. They moved away. To Council commanders, this looked like retreat. Some celebrated. "They finally break," one said. But the advance became slower than expected. Supply ships lagged behind warships. Communication delays grew. Navigation data became unreliable. Council fleets pressed on anyway. Then the first supply convoy failed to arrive. No explosion, no distress signal. It simply did not appear. Another followed. Then another. Council logistics officers scrambled for answers. Routes were clear. Escorts were present. Yet ships vanished from schedules without trace. Inside a human operations ship, analysts watched the results quietly. Convoy rerouted successfully, one said. Any damage? None. Human strategy was not focused on ships. It was focused on systems. Navigation beacons gave false confirmations. Automated traffic systems delayed transfers by minutes that became hours. Repair docks reported errors that forced shutdowns for safety checks. Nothing was broken. Everything was slowed. Council fleets began to feel hunger, not for food, but for fuel, parts, and information. High Arbiter Vexil received reports that made his frills tighten with stress. They are not attacking us, he said quietly. They are exhausting us. Other delegates dismissed his concern. We have numbers, we have power. But power that cannot move, Vexil replied, is decoration. On the front lines, council captains grew frustrated. They pushed deeper, hopping to force battle. Instead, they found empty space. Human colonies near the border were abandoned, stations powered down, mines sealed, civilians gone. Council intelligence confirmed evacuations were complete. They left nothing for us to threaten, one commander said. Inside one empty colony, council troops landed anyway. They walked through silent streets, clean streets, no damage, no traps. Just absence. The silence was heavy. Then the report started. Human ships appeared behind advancing fleets. Not attacking. Watching. Sensors tracked them easily at first. Then tracking became difficult. Then impossible. Human vessels learned patterns fast. Every council response made them better. Captain Alina Ruiz received updated data on her ship. They changed formation again, her officer said. Ruiz nodded. Good, that means they're reacting to us. Is that good? It means we're inside their thinking. The first large engagement happened near a gas giant. Council forces attempted to secure it as a refueling point. Human resistance appeared light. Then the gas giant's upper layers ignited. Not violently. Controlled burns, chemical reactions triggered by small devices placed long ago. The atmosphere became unstable. Refueling was impossible. Human ships withdrew. Council forces were forced to leave. The message was clear. Anywhere the Council tried to settle, humans could make it useless. Council citizens began to feel the war now. Trade slowed. Prices rose. News channels reported delays and shortages. Questions followed. Why is this taking so long? Why haven't we won? Council leaders responded with speeches about patience and duty. But doubt had taken root. Human broadcasts continued to be calm, informational, honest. They did not mock the council. They explained their actions. We will defend our people, one human official said. We will not rush into destruction. That message reached neutral systems. Some began to listen. In one neutral port, traders from several species shared drinks and rumors. The humans helped repair my ship, one said, didn't charge me. They shared navigation data, another added, saved us days. Slowly, neutral support shifted. Council fleets found fewer friendly ports. Human logistics grew stronger. Then came the mistake. A council admiral, angry and under pressure, ordered a direct strike on a populated human world. The order violated council law. But it was given anyway. The fleet arrived and fired. Human defenses activated instantly. Cities were shielded. Casualties were low, but the message was clear. The line had been crossed. For the first time, humanity responded with force. Not rage. Precision. Human fleets appeared across multiple systems at once. They did not destroy cities. They disabled shipyards. They did not attack civilians. They isolated military assets. Council ships lost coordination as command nodes went dark. The Admiral's fleet was surrounded. A message arrived. "You have violated protected space," it said. "Stand down." The Admiral refused. Human ships fired. Weapons struck engines and control systems. The fleet was captured. Alive. News of this spread like fire. Council citizens were shocked. "They could have destroyed us," one said. "But they didn't." High Arbiter Vexil called an emergency session. "The war has changed," he told the chamber. "We are no longer in control of its direction." Some listened. Some did not. Within human space, the mood shifted. Still calm, but firm. Citizens understood now. Humans had tried restraint. It had been answered. Captain Ruiz stood on her bridge, watching council ships drift powerless. "Orders?" her officer asked. Ruiz exhaled slowly. "Secure them, treat the crews well, record everything." "Everything?" "Yes," she said. "They need to understand why this happened." Human Command released a statement. "We will not escalate," it said, "but we will not allow harm to our people." Across the galaxy, that message echoed. The Council had declared war. Humanity had accepted responsibility. And now everyone could see the truth. Humans were not avoiding battle because they were weak. They were choosing when it mattered. And the galaxy was beginning to understand what that meant. The galaxy no longer felt steady. What had once been a clear conflict now felt uneven, like gravity pulling in the wrong direction. The Galactic Council still had more ships, more worlds, and more history, but it no longer had confidence. Reports arrived every cycle. Fleets delayed. Orders misunderstood. Supplies misplaced. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just enough problems to turn strength into frustration. Inside the council chambers, debates grew sharper. Voices rose. Traditions were questioned for the first time in centuries. "They do not fight like an enemy," one delegate said. "They fight like a force of nature." Another answered angrily, "Then we must overpower them." High Arbiter Vexil watched them argue. He felt old, older than before. "You cannot overpower a storm," he said quietly. "You endure it or you move out of its path." Few listened. The captured council fleet became a symbol. Human forces treated the crews carefully. Injured were healed. Food was shared. Communication with families was allowed. This confused council citizens more than cruelty ever could. "They defeated us," one civilian said during a broadcast. "Why do they act as caretakers?" Because humans remembered something. Every enemy was also a future neighbor. On Earth, public support remained steady. There was concern, yes. There was anger after the attack on the populated world, but there was also trust. Human leaders spoke plainly. "We are not seeking revenge," the Secretary General said. "We are seeking safety." Military planners began what they called consolidation. Not expansion. Consolidation. Human ships focused on key points: communication hubs, transit gates, fuel exchanges. They did not destroy them. They controlled access. Council fleets found themselves needing permission to move safely through space they once dominated. Some council captains complied. Others tried to force passage. Those ships found their systems quietly shut down and escorted away. Word spread fast. Humans were not blocking space. They were managing it. Neutral systems took notice. Trade councils met. Independent worlds debated quietly. Is it better to support an ancient authority that demands obedience? or a younger power that offers cooperation? Slowly, decisions were made. Human trade routes grew busier. Council routes grew empty. This hurt. Not physically, politically, economically, psychologically. Inside the council military, discipline began to crack. Younger officers questioned orders. Older ones clung to tradition. One fleet commander refused a direct engagement order. "We will lose more than ships," he said. "We will lose control." He was removed from command. His replacement lasted 2 days. High Arbiter Vexel requested a private meeting with the Terran Union. It was denied, not out of disrespect, but because the Council had not yet agreed to speak with one voice. Human intelligence noted something important. Council unity was failing. That was more powerful than any weapon. Captain Elena Ruiz escorted another disabled Council ship to a safe holding zone. Her crew worked efficiently, calmly. "Message from Council civilians," her officer said. "They're asking about prisoner treatment." Ruiz nodded. "Send the standard response." The response showed images. Medical bays. Shared meals. Open communication. No chains. No cages. The message spread. Council citizens began to ask dangerous questions. "If this is the enemy," one asked, "why are we afraid?" Council leadership struggled to answer. Then came the quiet collapse. A major council supply network failed. Not from attack. From error. Human interference had forced too many manual overrides. Council systems, unused to flexibility, broke under the strain. Entire fleets were stranded. The cost was enormous. Emergency sessions followed. Accusations flew. High Arbiter Vexel stood again before the chamber. "This war cannot be won," he said clearly, "not because we lack strength, but because we lack understanding." Silence followed. Then whispers. Some delegates finally agreed. Others did not. A vote was called. It failed. By a small margin. The war continued. Human leadership adjusted. If the Council would not stop, then humans would force clarity. Not with destruction. With proof. Human fleets executed a synchronized operation across dozens of systems. For exactly 6 hours, all Council military traffic was frozen. No ships lost. No lives harmed. Just stopped. Every weapon offline. Every command delayed. Every fleet aware of its own helplessness. Then everything returned to normal. Along with a message. "We can do this longer," it said. "We do not want to." The effect was immediate. Council citizens panicked. Not because of loss. Because of realization. Their leaders could not protect them from something that refused to fight normally. Protests began on several Council worlds. Not violent. Demanding. End the war. Open talks. Admit error. Council security forces hesitated. They had seen the reports. They knew who truly controlled the situation. High Arbiter Vexel watched the unrest and felt both fear and relief. Fear for the Council. Relief that the galaxy might survive this mistake. He sent another request to the Terran Union. This time it was accepted. The meeting was set in neutral space. No weapons. No fleets. Just representatives. Human diplomats arrived without ceremony. Simple ships, clear signals. Council delegates arrived tense and guarded. The talks began quietly. No accusations. No threats. Just facts. Human representatives explained their actions step by step. Why they evacuated. Why they avoided direct battle. why they targeted systems instead of people. "We learned this the hard way," one said, "on our own world." Council delegates listened, some for the first time. High Arbiter Vexil spoke last. "We believed you would fear us," he said. "Instead, you studied us." The human representative nodded. "Fear is loud," he replied. "Preparation is quiet." The talks did not end the war. Not yet. But something important changed. For the first time since the declaration, the Council was reacting, not commanding. And across the galaxy, everyone could feel it. The war was no longer about who was stronger. It was about who could let go first. And humanity was waiting. The war did not end with a battle. It ended with silence. After the first talks, fleets across the galaxy slowed. Ships still moved, but with caution. No one wanted to be the one who broke the fragile pause. Inside the Galactic Council, the pressure became impossible to ignore. Protests spread to more worlds. Trade failures caused shortages. Entire systems questioned why they were suffering when no great victory was in sight. Council broadcasts tried to hold control. They spoke of honor, of patience, of tradition. But the words felt old. Human broadcasts continued as before, calm, clear, honest. They showed facts, charts, timelines, statements without anger. "We did not start this war," one message said, "but we will not allow it to continue without reason." That sentence spread further than any fleet. High Arbiter Vexil sat alone in his chamber, staring at the stars. He had served the Council his entire life. He believed in order, in stability, in the idea that the galaxy needed guidance. But guidance was not the same as control. And control was slipping away. He called for a final emergency session. This time attendance was full. Delegates who had avoided earlier meetings now appeared. Fear and urgency pushed them forward. Vexil stood slowly. "We must vote again," he said. "Not on war, on survival." The chamber grew quiet. "We declared war believing humanity would bend," he continued. "They did not. They adapted. They endured. And they showed restraint we did not expect." Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. "They could have shattered our fleets," Vexil said. "They chose not to." A voice called out, "Because they fear retaliation." Vexil turned toward the speaker. "No," he said, "because they understand consequences." The vote was called. This time it passed. Barely. The Galactic Council authorized full ceasefire negotiations. Across the galaxy, signals changed. Weapons powered down. Fleets stopped advancing. The war entered its final phase. Talking. The negotiations took place in open space, visible to any who wished to observe. Transparency was a human condition. The Council agreed. Human and Council ships floated at a respectful distance. No shields raised, no weapons powered. Representatives met aboard a neutral station. The human delegation was small. No medals. No symbols of power. Just people. The Council delegation arrived with ceremony, though it felt weaker now. The talks were long. Difficult. At times uncomfortable. Humans did not demand territory. They did not ask for reparations. They asked for rules. Clear ones. No unilateral declarations of war. Guaranteed evacuation corridors. Shared oversight of trade routes. A voice for humanity within the Council. Some delegates resisted. "You ask too much," one said. A human diplomat replied calmly. "We ask only what prevents this from happening again." The room fell silent. Everyone knew it was true. High Arbiter Vexil watched the exchange and felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. The final agreement was was signed after many cycles. The war was officially over. The Galactic Council issued a statement. It spoke of misunderstanding, of lessons learned, of a new chapter. Humans responded with a shorter message. We accept peace. That was all. Across human space, there were no celebrations, no parades, no great speeches. People returned fully to their lives. Ships resumed normal trade. Projects restarted. The war became history almost immediately. That fact unsettled the galaxy. Other species expected humanity to mark the moment, to remember victory. But humans treated it like a storm that had passed. Something survived. Something learned from. Captain Elena Ruiz stood on her ship's observation deck, watching stars slide by. So that's it, her officer said. Ruiz nodded, that's it. No medals. She smiled faintly. The ship still works, the crew's alive, that's enough. Council citizens began to study humans more closely now. Not their weapons, their culture, their history. They saw a species shaped by hardship. One that did not seek conflict but never ran from it. One that measured success by survival, not domination. Within the council, reforms began. Slowly, painfully, but they began. Older members lost influence. Younger voices rose. The laws changed. War became harder to declare. Dialogue became required. And humanity took its seat. Not at the head. Not in the shadows. Just present. High Arbiter Vexil retired soon after. His final address was short. We believed ourselves guardians, he said. We forgot to listen. History would remember him kindly. Years later, students across the galaxy studied the conflict. They asked the same question. How did humans win without conquering? The answer was simple. They never tried to win. They tried to stop losing. And in doing so, they showed the galaxy a different way to fight. Not with fire, not with fear, but with patience. And far from the council chambers, on a quiet human world, a child looked up at the stars. Did we beat them? The child asked. An older human thought for a moment. No, they said, we showed them who we are. The stars kept shining. Trade flowed. Life continued. And somewhere deep in the records of the Galactic Council, one line stood out. Humanity responded to the declaration of war with restraint. That restraint changed everything.